everyone, and thank you for joining me today. I know it's the afternoon session is the last one, so well done to you for coming here. By the show of hands, who still uses Snapchat on a fairly regular basis? Impressive. Who uses Snapchat for business, for your brand? Okay, one person. You might be the only person as far as I can see. Okay, two. Who gave up on Snapchat completely and is curious right now what I'm going to talk about? Okay. I hope.
You did.
Yeah.
What the hell? Hand her a lap. Hand her a lap.
We don't run things like a corporation.
Okay. Can you guys hear me? Okay. So all those people who raised their hand and said, like, I'm just curious what you're going to talk about. I hope I will change your mind by the end of the session. If not, I hope you will get some ideas about Snapchat and how you can actually still use it for business. Let us have the slides, please. Okay. In the meantime, while we are putting this on, has everyone here who does use Snapchat, did you see the new update of the app? What do you think about it? Sucks, okay. We'll talk about that as well. I got that update a few weeks ago, and in the meantime, I was scrolling through Twitter, funny enough, because that's where people go if something is not working or if they hate something. And it was quite interesting to read all the responses. You know what, while we are figuring out the slides, I can just tell you a little bit more about myself, and then we're gonna skip that introduction when we have the slides up. So I am originally from Moscow, and I worked in London before moving to Silicon Valley, to San Francisco 2 years ago. And I right now run a marketing consultancy called Innovation Labs, where I work with VR companies, robotics VCs, tech companies like a meditation app called Calm, and lots of other fun brands. And I was, as I was doing my marketing work, and that includes a lot of content creation and social media, I was like, why are brands not using Snapchat? Because I can see how I could use it for my own brand, for my personal brand, also how other companies could use that. And I trained some of the startups how they could use Snapchat, but still there's not a lot of movement and knowledge in there. So I just started snapchatdaily.com, which is all news about Snapchat. There you go, which is the only professional blog about Snapchat for brands. Okay, let's move on to this. You had a little bit of introduction. These are just some of the brands I worked with in my PR and marketing capacity. Innovation Labs is the company that I run, which you have already heard of, so we're gonna move quickly. Snapchatdaily.com, that's where you go, snapchatdaily.com, and read all the news about Snapchat. First question, let's get it out of the way that you all might be thinking. Why even bother about Snapchat if there's Instagram and Instagram copies everything, and like Facebook has this power to just slap features on their products and put it in front of billions of people? I'm so impressed you guys have not left yet, considering all the technical difficulties. Okay, so back to Instagram and Snapchat. So that's a famous graph. You probably saw it. So when Snapchat has been working and developing product, and at the beginning when Snapchat launched, I actually dismissed it as a sexting app. I was like, who does that? That's just silly. Like, clearly, I'm not going to do this. And then as I saw Snapchat evolving, I was like, well, that's a really cool platform. And then Instagram, owned by Facebook, of course, thinks, wow, that's a really cool format. Video, vertical video, and people are really real there versus Instagram's kind of perfect picture. So why don't we start exactly the same? Why don't we start Instagram stories? Why don't we start Facebook stories? And then you can see stuff everywhere. But, Snapchat has grown since this craft, so we'll talk about their audience. But the thing is that I truly believe that Snapchat is so much more creative than Facebook or Instagram for that sake. And they really know what clicks with teenagers. And that's why I'm asking you to hang in there with me and explore Snapchat. So these are some of the stats. As you can see, in comparison to 166 million last year, Snapchat has grown to 187 million active users. And of course, there are many more downloads, and it's a matter also of reactivating users who are not using platform on a regular basis. Snapchat has over 3 billion snaps that are created every day, and this number has been going up. And if you think about it, just think about the number, 25 minutes a day. That's an average time a Snapchat spends in the app. But the big thing about Snapchat that I think gives them a really good competitive advantage is that at any given time, you cannot find the person who uses Snapchat anywhere else on any other platform. So that's a combination of platforms that people use and how it is relevant to the audience that uses Snapchat. So if you are targeting younger audiences that cannot be found on other platforms, Snapchat is still the right platform for you. And a couple of more numbers. So these are the numbers from last year, before Snapchat redesign. And the source is Snaplytics. You can go to their website and see they do really good reports on Snapchat for Business. And I'd be curious to see how much the engagement changes after the new redesign. Okay, so can anyone relate to this headline? I certainly did before. And then I started digging. I was like, what's going on? Like, why is it so confusing to use? And Evan Spiegel really kind of explains it in a very simple way. He says, we should have fun. So why be serious if life is serious enough already? So we should focus on the product that is exciting and fun to use. And so if you kind of let yourself to be a teenager again, then you might like the product better. So Snapchat positions themselves as a camera company. I want to leave it there because they, of course, launch spectacles and they keep pushing this proposition about Snapchat being a camera company. And also it starts with a camera. However, it's still a platform that many people do use as a messaging platform, as a social media platform. They interact with influencers, they interact with brands. So whether Snapchat will be moving into the space of an advertising business, that's a big question that we will explore. So that's how Snapchat worked or looked before the redesign. You had the main screen, it opens with a camera. You are the center of attention. If you like have not opened Snapchat for a while, you open it and you're like, see your face and selfie from here, and you're like, oh my God, I wish I didn't open the app. Why I'm the center of attention already? And then you swipe up, swipe down, and you access different parts of the app. Before, you could see friends on the left-hand side, friend chats. And then on the right, you would see stories that your friends would be posting and then discover. So that's not the thing anymore. And this is kind of a snapshot of what the redesign looks like. So on the left, you see friends, and the stories are displayed on the left as well. So if you see a little circle like that highlighted in blue, that means that your friend whom you're chatting with, they have a story that you can tap and watch. And if you are, like I have my direct messages open, so if you do not necessarily follow all the people who follow you, you have this really confusing list of messages and you don't know who is messaging you anymore. So at the moment, it's pretty confusing. So friends messages there. Brands, creators, influencers, celebrities, they have moved to Discover. Together, so you have a mixture of Daily Mail, National Geographic, Kim Kardashian, your creator friends that you have been following in stories. And not only those people whom you follow, but you will also see all types of brands and creators and influencers that Snapchat thinks are of interest to you. So I can understand why a lot of people think that this redesign is totally confusing and it's really hard to use. So if you're a brand, the challenge this presents for you is that you don't really know where you're appearing right now because Snapchat algorithm is still learning. So you might be still in friends. For example, I see ClassPass that I follow on the left-hand side in my friends. Sometimes I see brands that I follow, like McDonald's, for example, because they do amazing recruiting campaigns. I have them in Discover. But as a brand, if you start your Snapchat channel, you do not really know right now where it's going to appear. So this is just something to bear in mind, and to make sure that you keep an eye and ask people who follow you to notice where you're appearing. Okay, when it comes to Snapchat, using Snapchat for business, I'm not going to, by the way, give you any tools or telling you how to use creative tools apart from one slide. So I encourage you to just go and play with the app. And if you are compelled to do it right now, please do. So I encourage you to use your cell phones right now, and Snapchat specifically. But main thing to start with is that if you do commit to doing that and trying it for your brand, number one, please make sure that you create a fun content, because this is what Snapchat is about. So please be playful, be open, be transparent, and we will talk about why this is important. And third thing is be consistent, because if you do not post often enough, then you're lost. If people are not engaging with you, Snapchat algorithm will put you lower in the priority of different snaps, and your content will not get noticed. Some of the things we're going to go through today. I will try to be quite fast. And if you want to, you will be able to email me and ask for the slides. But we will go through some of these things and summarize some of the best tips. Number one, I hope you're ready. Whether you like her or hate her, Kylie Jenner is an excellent power user of Snapchat for business. So she has the makeup brand, and lots of other lines within her brand. And she's perfect when it comes to showcasing the product. So if you do have a physical product, and you should basically, this should be your number one thing. Show your product, make it fun, make it exciting. Show how you can use it in different situations, so that it's not only this is a box, it sits on my table. Show unpacking, show different features of your product. Because people, especially if they have not bought it yet, they will be interested to learn more about it because they're following you already, so they have some initial interest. If you have a service, or maybe your product is software, you're like, there's nothing exciting about it, I cannot show a physical product. Show behind the scenes. Show people your team, show your knowledge, show your office, show your activities, your events, and on a bigger scale, you can see that Snapchat was kind of letting people see, get inside the Fashion Week, for example, or they have now been broadcasting Olympics live in the Snapchat app, which is a totally different story. They have not introduced it to everyone else. So broadcasting is, just forget about it, but that's what they did. They gave access to people to behind the scenes. Number three, give people tips and hacks and give them knowledge about the product. And this gives you an opportunity for your audience to learn not only about specific features of your product, but also of the different use cases. So with that, you can literally, especially when it comes to difficult products, for example, if you know the story of Dropbox and how they tried to explain the product to the investors when they were a startup, they were like, there's nothing like that yet. We cannot explain it. We cannot draw it because it's really hard to understand. And what they did, they actually did an animated video. So if your product is not a physical one and you really want to kind of show what the features are and what the flow is, you can do it through Snapchat, because you can do it through photos, through videos, and other tools that we will talk about. But basically, you can show a sequence. You can give them hacks and basically make people more loyal, because you're giving them the opportunity to explore your product, to use it. You give them a reason to come back to your app if you have an app product, or to visit your store, or to check your website. So whatever it is, you give the people an opportunity to be reminded what you actually do. And by the way, Taco Bell has an amazing Snapchat account that you should follow. Transparency. We did talk about it at the very beginning. It was mentioned in one of the slides. And Everlane fashion brand in New York does an amazing job with that. So they have a Transparency Tuesday, which is a great initiative where they talk about their supply chain and how they source, different products, what designers they work with, what materials are. And they answer questions, and they are basically saying, we're here for you, and we're telling you who we are, and we're not afraid to do that. We have nothing to hide. So you're basically developing a loyal audience that is learning more about you. So when they have an option of buying jeans from ASOS or Everlane, they will be like, Everlane is a really cool company. I learned a lot about it. I met some of their individuals through some of their team through Snapchat. So you're basically getting people, giving them a reason to get to know you better, get to know your brand and product better, and connect with it on a different level because you're showing what's good about it and you're being transparent. Again, back to Kylie Jenner. I apologize for that. So exclusive previews. Kim Kardashian also does that on Instagram. And some of these tricks, they are not necessarily Snapchat exclusive, so you can definitely borrow those strategies for Instagram stories or other stories that you might use for your brand. So she's perfect at doing exclusive previews. So make sure if you're doing an exclusive preview on Snapchat that you actually, on other platforms, you build up expectations that this is exclusive to Snapchat only, that your users are not going to get it anywhere else, that give them the reason to go to Snapchat, wait for that announcement. And Snapchat actually does that themselves with their own products. They often give, like, you know, if you were trying to buy spectacles when they just launched, they're like, next location is announced in 8 hours and there's a countdown and stuff like that. Because they like playing games, and people who are active on Snapchat, they like that fun and fun engagement. So do that and do exclusive previews and announcements of product drops. When it comes to selling, you can actually sell stuff on Snapchat. So this is a creative way to do that. So you can see that Grubhub did a really good thing. So they use the product, they use the box in which pizza is delivered, and they use the code. And you can, you know, a lot of people are asking how you can actually track engagement and performance of your Snapchat content. So if you use this code, then you will, and you only use it on Snapchat, then you know what to do. Like, you will see how engaged your audience is and what results your campaign brought. Talking about codes, the other thing which I guess we think of when it comes to using promo codes and generating sales is working with influencers. And there was a session on influencers before that. And what I want to tell you is that Snapchat influencers or relationships with Snapchat influencers are not too different from your relationships and building relationships with any other influencers. Because when you do it Snapchat, they do a Snapchat takeover of your account, they will be promoting it and working with you, with your brand on their platforms. And they are giving new content to your audience, you're associating your brand with this influencer, and also you are getting access to their audience through the promotion that they are doing in their account. Just make sure that you set the record straight from the beginning and lay out your expectations to the influencer. You should also look into creative tools that Snapchat offers, and that a lot of the creators and influencers that you might collaborate, they also use that. So Daniel Wellington is an amazing brand. They do a great job on Instagram. And mind you, they build the whole business just on Instagram, because through Instagram influencers. And if you see all those beautiful pictures with the watch, you know, with mountains and beautiful holidays and destinations. So Daniel Wellington did that with influencers to start with, and they did get a backlash on giving basically watches to all the influencers and flooding Instagram with that, but they do an excellent job using Snapchat tools. So they suggested to use to create a custom sticker out of the watch. And then you create your snap, the watch is saved in your sticker library, you slap it on, and then you share with your audience. How many people, you know, basically I'm becoming an ambassador for the brand by sharing it with my audience. And they also use that to feature the best snaps on their channel, giving people extra motivation to use these creative tools. One thing that I think is totally underutilized, and a lot of people think that this is too expensive, too much effort, and really kind of you have to have a huge team and a lot of resources to do this, but it's not true. So I would suggest that you think bigger and think about doing your own Snapchat show. Most of Snapchat shows, they actually run on ads in collaboration with Snapchat. But what you can do is you can basically compete with all these guys, and who wouldn't want to have, a show on Netflix? So you can create your own content and post it on Snapchat and support it through ads, but you can host it anywhere else. So you don't have to do it only on Snapchat. You can promote it through other platforms, but to start with, you can do it on Snapchat. So for example, Stay Tuned, they got 29 million views during the first month since they launched the show. Mind that you, of course, this was a collaboration with Snapchat. However, if you do this, and if you create short pieces of content, which is a vertical video, talking about either your product, maybe you're bringing influencers to your studio or to your office, and talking to them about your products or services or the business or the industry, but again, make it fun and entertaining, then you're supporting it with Snapchat ads, then your audience is very targeted, because this was a very kind of broad approach to promote the show. Another tool that you can use in combination with any of the previous tools that we've just covered is attaching links to products. So whether you have the sale, or you are pushing a specific product, or you've started a Kickstarter campaign and you want people to donate, you can attach any link to your Snap. And of course, Instagram introduced that too, so now it's open to anyone. But on Snapchat, you can totally, and you should take advantage of that, whether you're a business, like a big business, or a sole entrepreneur. If you're a sole entrepreneur and you created a blog post, then you can attach that link. Or alternatively, you can tell your followers, if you have not too many followers and can manage the responses, and say, snap back at me with a certain emoji, and I will send you a direct link to this, maybe like an ebook or your article that is not like too public, so that they would have a feeling of exclusivity and access to your content. Snapchat context cards is a really interesting product, and one of the speakers earlier today on the main stage, he was talking about how social becomes a layer for all products and software products out there. So we're not necessarily, if we're looking in 5-10 years, we're not necessarily talking about Snapchat doing their thing, Facebook doing their thing, Twitter and Instagram and so on. It's kind of like becomes, overlays everything we do in life, and is part of our day-to-day life. So Snapchat is doing the opposite, so you can book an Uber through Snapchat, you can check ratings of the restaurant before you go there. So you can do lots of things by using context cards. At the moment, there's no specific, you can actually use context cards as a part of the ads that you place, but for organic there's no organic way to get on context cards right now. But you can definitely explore it through ads. But this is especially good for local businesses. So if you have a cafe, a yoga studio, a meditation studio, or a fashion store, context cards are great because they can give your audience extra insights, and you can ask them, get them to take an action, for example, to call your store, book an appointment, again, order a car or whatever that would be, make a reservation. Another thing is that, again, not a lot of people know about it, but you can use Snapchat snap codes offline. So you don't necessarily have to put all the effort and drive all the people into the app, and then you will be thinking, well, they're not coming, I'm just wasting my time. So try and go outside, offline, where your audience is, but they might be using Snapchat. What it actually means is that you can go to scan.snapchat.com, and any link, so if you are selling certain type of yoga leggings, for example, and you want to promote a specific product, you can create a direct link to it, and of course it can be a trackable link. You can create a snap code that will look like this, and then your users you can snap to unlock it, so they can just take a picture in the Snapchat app, and they will be shown like a pop-up window, and they can open that link. So this is, this provides an amazing opportunity for brands to interact with Snapchat users offline, even if you're not putting a lot of effort in maintaining your channel. Because imagine if right now I would give everyone stickers with my website, and you could just simply snap it in the Snapchat app and start reading my articles. Snapchat has actually done exactly the same thing with their recent product, which is Snap Store. So they pulled all the products from Amazon, and you could get like a t-shirt and a toy and a backpack and stuff like that. It's not available anymore. But you can go to Snapchat Store online, and there will be a code, just a similar one, and then you snap it, and then you open the store. So they are totally changing the space of e-commerce, because it's not like you go there and everything is laid out in front of you and everything is available. They're creating a sense of urgency, saying that this product is available right now, but it might not be in a few minutes or in a few hours. So get it now, order it now, and then it works just like a normal store. You know, you choose the product, you choose the site, you check out. So they use their own ways to promote their own e-commerce products through Snap codes. Okay, one more thing that I wanted to, two more things. Another kind of obvious for me thing is that because people whom you're following on Snapchat, they can be investors, they can be journalists, they can be other influencers. You should just go follow them and start engaging, because if you are consistent in talking to people whom you want to build relationships with, they will finally notice, they will be interested who you are, they will start responding. So you can actually build, if you're a startup, you can build relationships with a journalist or an investor. So you should definitely look into those individuals that you want to build relationships with and use Snapchat for that. And the last thing that is not included here, but it's on the website, I published this article yesterday. Snapchat brought the Snapchat map, Snap Map, to the web. Is anyone familiar with Snap Map? Yeah, okay, some people. So previously you could see in the app, you could use certain gesture and you could see where your friends are on the map in the world. And like parents got worried because it's a little creepy, because teenagers do not really think about security when they use social media. But it was fun because you could make plans, you could see where your friends are, you could actually see like whether your friend is driving or walking or swimming or whatever. So it's a lot of fun. So bringing it to the web does not really make sense for consumers. Like if they're targeting teenagers, why would they go on the web and just like browse their friends? But the web version, actually, you cannot see your friends there, but you can see events across the country or across the world. So you can navigate to the part of the world where you want to see an event, and you can see little tags. So for example, like Lana Del Rey concert in Arizona, or yesterday when I was writing this article, I saw this featured story and I was like, what the hell is that? And that was actually shooting in Chicago. And I learned about this event from Snapchat Maps. But the most important thing for brands is that you can embed this link on your website, or you can copy a direct link to this particular story and share on social media. So even if your audience are not hardcore Snapchat users, you can engage them by giving them live, exciting content that you share at the location of your event. So that would mean that you would have to be exciting, like you would have to organize an event. You would get people to snap that, and so that would get attention of the Snapchat team or their AI that collects stories submitted to public stories and be on that map. I think this summarizes key tools that I wanted to talk to you about, and there are some of more tools right here. And then as a last thing, I wanted to give you a couple of examples of brands that really do a good job on Snapchat. These are some of the brands. There are a lot more companies that do that. But this French bank, BNP Paribas, they do a great job on every social media platform, to be honest, but they actually nail Snapchat. So they do recruit a lot of young people through Snapchat. McDonald's recruits a lot of people through Snapchat as well, because basically they found the medium that works with the younger audience that is their target audience. And you just should, scan this code or just Google or start following BNP Paribas to see what kind of programs they do. NextGen Invest is a really good example of how Snapchat is perfect for them, because they are basically financial advisors for young people who are looking for scholarships and want to get into college. So through the Snapchat channel, they do tours of universities. They have an ambassador who literally gives the tour around campus. They answer questions about how to get funding for this particular university, what the life on campus is like, whether they're going to enjoy it depending on their interests and subject matters and stuff like that. And that's a perfect example because it's a great audience, teenagers who are looking to get into schools and universities, and you can do it for free. Like, you don't have to spend any money, and then they can connect you with financial advisors that actually give you concrete tips how to get scholarship for that particular university. Supermark is also a French brand, but they did an amazing project when they used Snapchat spectacles to shoot a story when they got the fish from the sea and brought it to the supermarket. And like, as a consumer, you can come up to the store when you're choosing fish, and you can snap that code, and you can see the full story. And because Snapchat stores only for 24 hours, you know that your fish is fresh. You cannot fake it. So that's a really kind of almost too smart, but a really smart and creative way how you can use Snapchat and Snapchat spectacles. And another one is Snap Listings. So the guys rent out and sell multi-million apartments in New York. They do a tour, they comment, like, if you ever try to rent an apartment in the city, you have to like go and make an appointment, all that. They do it all on Snapchat. Okay. There are a couple of bonuses, so if you want, you can, and the tools that professional Snapchatters use, you can drop me an email, and I will send you the slides so you can look in more detail at the tools that we've covered today and some of them that we did not cover, but they are in the slides, and ask me any questions that you have. With that, we are the last session today, but I believe we have a couple of minutes for a question. Thank you. Right, so Snapchat has not been reporting specific demographics in detail, but you can find some of the information in their IPO filings. So the main audience is still younger, so it's on like teenagers and people in their early 20s. There are audiences they have seen the growth in older audiences, but the core demographics is still young.
So as an advertiser, what data do I have access to if I'm trying to create an ad on Snap?
So Snapchat, in June last year, they launched Snapchat Ad Manager, which kind of is very similar to Facebook Ad Manager. So you are looking at different lifestyle categories for people, age. So they have very locations, so they're very similar to what you see on Facebook. And there's no minimum spend and stuff like that, so you can actually go and play with it yourself and see. But basically, you have access to very similar parameters, how you can target people, and they have a very sophisticated way to track conversions, whether it's for app downloads or like you can attach longer form content to your Snap, or even Snapchat can track footfall to your store if you're promoting a physical store, and they work with partners on that. It's actually very similar. If you try, go and try Snapchat Ad Manager, you'll be surprised. And they actually just introduced today. Snapchat has just introduced analytics for creators. So if you are planning to work with influencers, you can actually ask them to give you a screenshot of their stats, because before it was like wild west with the influencers. I mean, it still is, but today you can influencers actually have access to their own analytics, and you can see it on. I just posted this article today. Any more questions?
Hi. So I have a question. Hi. So I have a question about Instagram. Like, how has that affected Snapchat? The fact that they just like imitated the whole platform. And on top of that, like, are you able to, are you seeing a lot of brands like wanting to take all the way you would have normally advertised on Snapchat, like wanting to do that on Instagram now?
I saw that from the very beginning when Instagram introduced the stories, people started getting confused, and a lot of people were still creating content on Snapchat but posting on Instagram stories, including like Reese Witherspoon or you know, like all those celebrities. And then I noticed that they have started creating custom content for Instagram, and some of them are saving it and reposting on Snapchat because it kind of, both companies have made it easier for people to share content that you create right now today, but not necessarily in the platform. So of course, Instagram has taken a lot from Snapchat, but and Facebook has massive power in terms of money, engineers, and promotion to take any feature they can and put it in front of you, whether it's on Instagram or on Snapchat. I actually asked Facebook product VP, like, why do you keep stealing from Snapchat? This is ridiculous. And he said, well, they found the format that really works. So why don't we take advantage of that? So I think in the future, we can see a lot more features being borrowed by Instagram, by other platforms from Snapchat. But I think what Snapchat do have, they have this fun and creative thinking and innovative approach that Facebook doesn't, because Facebook is getting older. And as you can see the reports that Facebook is losing the audience, the younger audience, because Facebook is not cool, but Snapchat is still cool. As a marketeer, I would keep an eye on all those platforms and see what works best for you. So for example, if you clearly see that Instagram is working for you way better than Snapchat, then you shouldn't be spending time on Snapchat, but you can keep an eye on it and see if the audience comes back, the audience that you need comes back to the platform. But I think Snapchat will be coming up with much more creative features that Instagram will then probably implement following that launch.
Any other questions? All right, let's give a warm
Thank
round
you.
of applause.